Hi. Thank you all for coming here today. You know, before I start, I did consider opening up with a joke about how self-made I am. But then I realized I have to give credit to my parents for that joke, my siblings for letting me rehearse it, and my friends for actually laughing, even though it wasn't that funny. So much for self-made. Let's talk about what really builds us up, community. Because here's the truth. We are not self-made, we are community-made. Can I get a raise of hands? How many of you have heard the phrase self-made success? Almost all of you. It seems that it's like a tradition in America. We tend to admire those who supposedly did it all on their own. But from an honest perspective, we've all used our community to get to where we are now. Yet, we live in a world that glorifies this idea of individual achievement while ignoring the invisible web of support that makes it all possible. This talk will be my way of reclaiming that truth. No man is an island. I'd introduce myself. Salam, peace. My name is Maryam Hassan Muhammad. I'm 20 years old, and I'm the middle of 10 children. And I was homeschooled from K through 12. Now, my childhood was very different from the traditional brick and mortar school experience. In many ways, I learned in an online environment, outside from people from my home. And I won't lie, that was very lonely. Not a lot of people can relate to growing up almost in an entirely online environment. Even though my home was full of activity, noise, family, drama, I still felt isolated. As a kid, I would always worry about what would happen next. I worried about when my siblings would move out. Would that mean I'm left with no deep or current connections? Like, my parents, they were there, but in most immigrant homes, our parents are busy with a lot of things like bills, school, accidents, money, food, well-being. And because I had little to no social skills outside of my home, I felt that if worse were to come, it'd be over. I won't lie, I was insecure about almost everything. My education, my finances, my culture, my upbringing, my knowledge of my religion, my hobbies, and even my own looks. I wanted to be invisible, yet reap the benefits of being seen. And this is how conflicted I felt. And here's something I've noticed. When you're around the ages of 13 to 16 years old, you love making life hard for yourself. You think you know better. You think you know better than everyone else, when in actuality, you just want better. And for me as a teen, it was a mixture of that and my insecurities that went unchecked. I just didn't want to be here. I started seeing myself as a worker, following orders without ever questioning, without ever wanting to know what was behind those orders. Whether it be for family, religion, or anything else, I just blurred it all. It was like I was willfully living my life on autopilot, just waiting for my turn for things to magically work out. I felt lost and hopeless. And the thing is, my siblings, I love them so much. They offered me help. They gave me a pathway for me to navigate my childhood the way I should in my experience, in our household. But I was rejecting of that. I rejected the help that they tried to offer because I was fearful. I was fearful that, number one, I might be a burden. Number two, I didn't like the way I was raised. I didn't like the house I was raised in. I was ungrateful. And number three, I was afraid of becoming dependent and weak on any support others tried to offer me. And I'm looking back now, I realized that was pure ignorance. Just because I didn't like who I was and where I grew up from, I rejected all the help that could help me grow. And This might sound funny, but in all my 20 years of living, the hardest time in my life was in high school. My freshman year, I was in 9th grade. Now, this year was the year I experienced homelessness. Now, there are a lot of things that come with being homeless. A lot of things that you as a child can do nothing to combat. You start spiraling in very bad ways. Your worries are no longer your feelings. It's whether or not you have a bed to sleep in. It's whether or not you have food to eat that day. And with your support systems being down, like your parents and your siblings, everyone's worried, you start sinking yourself into really dark thoughts. And I did that. I started blaming myself for everything. Our financial situation, our housing situation, and even the way my grades were failing. And I resented my parents and my family for not reading my mind. I mean, you're going through a lot of hormones when you're that age, so. It led me into a really dark place, spiraling into depression. And it made me reach a breaking point. And now, some of you who are in immigrant homes, you know you can't really speak freely in some cases. I actually mustered the courage up to speak freely, openly, with no filter, with my Guyanese mother. It went a lot of ways, but I'll give you the sugar-coated version. In the end, I got to see my mom, not just as mom. We had a conversation. I saw her as a girl just like me, someone with her own struggles, her own dreams, and the sacrifices she took for us to be here where we are now. And I am forever grateful for that. That conversation, it started a chain reaction for me. Little by little, I started reaching out. In high school, I was like, okay, I'm gonna join a club. And then I did. And then I joined another, and then another, and it just kept going. Later on, I got tired of joining clubs. I mean, there's so much fun you can have with that. My sisters were actually like, Maryam, I think you could try and become president of these clubs, or VP. And I did. I did for almost all 16 of them, which is crazy. And I want you to remember, it's an online school, so there was not a lot of physical activity. And then later on, my mom saw me slacking again, and she gave me something that's so priceless. She gave me the best, scary encouragement anybody could ask for. I won't say what it is, but it pushed me, and then I ended up into my first after-school program. And here is where I met my mentor. She was the first person outside of my home, outside of my community, to see me for me and push me that way. She made me acknowledge my flaws and my strengths, and made me build up on it to utilize them to become a fuller person. She made me accountable for everything that I did, and she made me see myself not as a background character, but as somebody taking control of their own life. She made a space for me to lead. She took me from being an outsider to an insider, from a student to a teacher. Just like that. And now, not a lot of people get to this realization until a major low, but you really have to look at your flaws, identify your flaws, and appreciate your strengths. Like, really appreciate your strengths. It does you wonders. Now, I'm gonna fast forward a few years later. I'm now in my first year of university. And now I want you to put yourself in my shoes. K to 12, homeschooling, never public schooled, then literally thrown onto a college campus full of sweaty half adults. It was a scary experience. I had a mixture of feelings. I was worried, terrified, I was happy, I was hungry. There's a lot going on. And then I ended up praying to God. I asked God, please, shape me into who I want and who I need to be. And I think he did just that. Y'all could tell me later, but later on, I fell into this really cool robotics group. And in this group, I met a whole bunch of different people, and I was like so amazed to hear about other backgrounds, and I felt amazed. I won't forget this one guy. He was about 22 years old, and he shocked all of us, not in a good way. He told us that he was going to drop out if this computer science thing didn't work for him. We were shocked, and we asked why. He said, well, I'm the first child in my whole family to attend college. My uncles, they didn't want to really support me. My parents, they want to support me, but I don't want to burden them. They already pushed this hard for me to get here, and I don't know what I'm doing. I feel burnt out. We were shocked. We tried to offer him a hand, but he was dead set on not being a burden onto anyone else. He taught me something that I'm still learning. We tend to hide our need for help because we're taught that asking for it is failure. Asking for it makes you weak, when in reality, help does not make you weak. It makes you human. Embracing help, love, and guidance is truly how we grow. His story made me reflect on my own family, how my aunts, my uncles, my siblings, my cousins, they were always willing to help each other and support each other when time need be. It was like I was born with 3 hands in a world of 2-handed people. Yet I've been hiding this extra hand because I've been embarrassed that it didn't fit this American narrative, this status quo. There's this American saying, I'm pretty sure you guys all heard of it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. What if you were never even given boots? What if your family, your community were your boots and the path beneath you? Today, I stand here knowing that community is a luxury that is so well within reach. Every opportunity, every skill, every challenge that I've overcome has been intertwined with the support I've received along the way. No matter how, in a world that's filled with people who think being self-made is the best, I am telling you, none of us make it alone. Whether it be from family, religion, friends, your mentors, or even strangers you passed on the street this morning, it is these people that change your perception and shape who you are. Remember, no man is an island. The first step to finding a community is to find yourself. And to have a community, you have to acknowledge the possibility of one being there. So I want you guys to take a few seconds, real quick. Look around. Actually, stop looking at me, look around. Your community and your future might be sitting right next to you. Salam, peace.